Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's please join Jasmine. Join me. Jasmine.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm an alcoholic. Oh. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you. It's such a treat to be here. I don't know if it's a treat to be standing where I'm standing, but it's a treat to be in this room. I miss the Marina Center. I got sober here, and about a week before Brandy called me to ask me to speak at the marathon, the holiday pitches started at the meetings. I've moved to the Valley a few years ago, and I started to hear the holiday pitches of, oh God, people have some really sad stories affiliated with the holidays and the dread and the misery and the loneliness, and I started to get really depressed for everybody, and then I started to think about, what do I have to be depressed about, and starting to scratch my brain for something that I could cling on to. And I just started to think about the Marina Center and the marathons that I've been to here, and what we're all doing here today, and thank you so much. And so I started to share, like, if you want to get a new opinion, a new definition about the holidays, go to a marathon meeting and it'll change. Because now when I think about the holidays, especially Thanksgiving, because that's usually the marathon that I've been to here, there is nothing more powerful than sharing it with other alcoholics, even if you have plans or if this is where, I'm going to spend my day, but just to come here and to share food with other alcoholics, this is where the true family is for me, and so it's an honor to be here. I'm going to start with where I'm at today, just because I think that I won't share much about my past, but then I hate to spend the whole time talking about my past, so I'd rather nip it in the bud now. I've got 7.5 years of sobriety. I got sober May 27th, 1997. And where I'm at now is it kind of started to dawn on me about a year ago that in order for me not only to stay sober, but to have the kind of sobriety that I admire in other people, and to continue growing as a spiritual being on this planet, and to keep having an enriched life, I have to give it away with all my might. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm really in 10, 11, and 12. I'm in 10 and 11 mainly because I'm in 12, and I don't want to get into working with another alcoholic without being in my program, and thank God for working with newcomers, because that's what keeps me remembering that I'm an alcoholic, remembering that the steps are the solution, and remembering that I don't have it so bad. I've been really praying to be of service lately, and God definitely has answered my prayers, because He's gotten me speaking a lot, which I hate, and He's planted some women in my life that are the craziest ladies I've ever met in my life. Absolutely. And they're very needy, and it's exactly what my sponsor, she wasn't one of those kinds of sponsors that says you have to call me every day, or I have to see you every day, or I need to see you at this meeting, 3 times a week. Or she was very much, call me when you want to, and we'll meet once a week, and we'll do the steps. And she basically made it very clear to me that she was my step guide. And if I needed her for something else, feel free to call. But she kind of left that open. And I'm kind of learning in my sponsorship that I really need to give it away, and so I need to know, like, if this woman's going to stick around or not, and so I need to hear from them more. And so it's just been wonderful. I've been speaking to the ladies that I sponsor every day, and that just keeps me, it keeps me very clear. I can walk into a room now, and if somebody asks me how I'm doing, I really know how I'm doing, because I'm living the program. I'm not just dry. I'm not just aware of spirituality when I'm in a meeting. I'm in it. You know, I'm far from perfect, but I feel that the program is really working in my life. I started drinking when I was 11. I come from a family that is alcoholic on both sides. My mom's side of the family is the kind of the cocktail hour drinkers, the ones that kind of decide what parties they're going to by what liquor is being served, or everything was just kind of based on liquor, and once the drinking started, they'd just get louder and louder, and the arguments would get nastier and nastier, and when they'd drive, they'd ding the side of the road or ding other cars, but it was just always very maintained, and, you know, until it got ugly. But and then my dad's side is the kind that loses it all, you know, the kind that die drunk, or that go bankrupt, or lose marriages, and I take after my dad. I would go and spend my summers, the way custody was divided. I was born in Mexico. My dad's Mexican, my mom's American. And the way they divided custody when they split up was that I would spend my summers with him, and I would spend my school years with my mom up here. And I would go down there, and this guy, he's totally the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde alcoholic that they say in the book. He's the kind that is the most charming, charismatic, the guy with the most potential, the guy they just want to be around and be loved by when he's sober. But then if he has so much as one drop of liquor, like, he's gone for days. And when I was 11 and I was down there in Mexico, I started to just kind of make my own entertainment. And there was this girl whose name was Carla, and she was 14, and she wore eyeliner, and she smoked Virginia Slims, and she was really, really cool. And she took me to my first nightclub, and so I started sneaking out to nightclubs when I was 11. And the feeling that I got when I started to have that first drink is the feeling that I was chasing the whole time that I was drinking. I suddenly went from being, you know, as you hear from everybody, the paranoid girl that just had nothing to say to anybody, that was always terrified to lock eyes with anybody, who was constantly feeling like I was taking up too much space in the world, and you know, there were so many things wrong with me, and everything was right with you. I took those, you know, I think it was I feel like it was maybe a pina colada or something really milky and sweet. And as soon as I started drinking that and smoking those Virginia Slims or Capris or whatever the hell it was, suddenly I was just everything, you know. The smoke started coming up from the dance floor. People would change my ashtray the second I flicked an ash in it. People were asking me to dance and telling me I was the most beautiful girl in the bar, and I was fighting with people, and I, you know, stood up taller, and I'd, you know, everything was just passion, and the people that you meet, they're just as drunk as you, and like everybody's just ready to make this the night to remember, and that was what I wanted life to be. And that was pretty much what I was trying to recreate every time I drank. That was what, you know, they say in the big book that, you know, after a while we start to think that our drunken reality is the only reality there is, and that's all I wanted, you know. And I also developed an eating disorder that year, and so from the time that I started drinking until I got sober, I really, in retrospect, don't think that I ever had the experience of just sitting in my skin, you know, of sitting through an emotion or just learning how to face life. I remember I came to my bottom when I was in college, and I remember I would wake up in the morning and I'd have to drink, or I'd smoke pot, or I'd binge on some food, or I'd do something. Like the second I woke up, I had to do something to get out of, you know, the terror of the day. And then I would do it, and then I'd look out my window and I'd see people walking, you know, on the grass, and the sun would be shining, and they'd be talking to each other and like on their way to somewhere and conversing and laughing. And I would just think, how the hell do they do that? How do these people go through a day and wake up and go places and make something of themselves without screwing it up? I had no idea how that was. I just never really knew how to live until I got here. I really owe everything that I know about sobriety to the Marina Center. I got sober at the outpatient center over at Kaiser down the street. And I know some people have some pretty controversial views on rehabs, but I feel that they gave me one really, really good piece of information, and that was start getting your butt to AA meetings as soon as possible. And there's the Marina Center right down the street, and you better start making yourself very familiar with that. I came here when I had 4 days of sobriety. I think it was a night meeting. And the second I walked in, I don't know if they knew it was my first meeting or what, but I was swarmed. I had so many phone numbers of women I knew I would never call and men I knew I would never call, but I just was taken care of the second I got in here. And this is where I learned everything that I know about sobriety. This is where I learned to have a commitment. This is where I learned to just show up no matter what. This is where I would go to the noon meetings, and the noon meetings here are fantastic. They're step studies, and this is where I learned what the steps were, you know. Day after day, somebody different would get up here and tell me their take on the steps or their experience with the steps, and then there would be a question and answer, and I would learn how so many people work the steps, and so many different people, and, you know, and how they're interpreted differently, and yet it's all really the same. And this is just really where I learned what it is, and I don't know that I haven't stuck with it the whole time, but I've always known, and I feel that the more you plug in as a newcomer, the more chance you have of, the more chance I have of staying here when things get rough with some time. And when things get rough, I do exactly what I learned what to do as a newcomer, and so I thank God for my newcomer days. So I was here on the west side, coming here regularly for my first 5 years. And then when I had 5 years, my grandmother, who lived in the valley, had dementia, and she had to be put into a home. And so I had to go and be closer to her. And that was really a turning point in my sobriety. And I kind of, to go to, you know, it's just a hill. It's one hill, and yet it seemed like I was moving to Alaska. You know, I feel like it might have been easier if I'd moved to Alaska, because then I'd know, you know, like I have to really establish some roots. But man, when I moved to the valley, this place ruined me for it, because I would walk into every meeting, and the old-timers there were not the old-timers here, and the jokes there were canned, and nothing was like the Marina Center, and, you know, Dirty Jack, you know, nobody's like Dirty Jack, but this guy thinks he's like Dirty Jack. And, you know, I had so many opinions and so many people asking me if I was a newcomer, and I just got proud, and I couldn't, I took some time away, not, I mean, I would still go to meetings, but I would float from meeting to meeting, and I'd never get a commitment, and I would judge, and I made the rest of my life my priority. I went back to school, and I was working full time, and I was taking care of my grandmother, and I got married, and although those things are so, you know, great things in the life of a normal person, like I just, about a year and a half of living kind of on the outskirts of AA, I was sitting in a meeting and somebody said, I don't know, they were talking about God, and they said, you know, just picture God. And I realized I don't have a picture of God anymore. I don't even know what that is anymore. And suddenly I realized how small my life had become. I could tell you what I was doing during the day, like what physically I was doing, but I couldn't tell you where I was at spiritually. And I knew that that was just... And I didn't think it was any coincidence that every time I'd go to a meeting, some woman would share about how she'd had a certain amount of years and then she relapsed. And I knew that that was a message for me. And so for the past 2 years, I've been really trying to plug back in. I don't know. I guess I'll just kind of welcome if you're new. Thank you for sharing the new year with me if you've been here for a while, or everybody. And thank you for letting this be a growing point in my sobriety, because I absolutely hate doing this, but I made a prayer to God a few months back of, please take away my paranoia, because whenever I walk into a room, I just get so terrified of, you know, what you're thinking about me. And I don't think it was a coincidence that, like, I've been speaking constantly ever since. You know, I know that even though it doesn't seem like it's connected, everything that I'm asked to do in AA makes me stronger in the rest of my life. And I don't know how AA works, like, seriously, but it truly does. And the more time I plug into my program, the more time I have for everything else, and the more quality I put into everything else. And my life is just really, really beautiful now. I mean, I've got some stuff, but I don't have a lot, you know, and I can watch a lot of VH1 and those programs of, like, it's great to be Paris Hilton, or it's great, you know, and I can get sucked into these things of, like, oh man, these people have this and they have that, and they're dating this person and that, and they're so much younger than me, and this and that, and I can get sucked into that. But when I go to a meeting, or when I hear a woman calling me and crying and flipping out about her family or this or that, like, I get what it says, like in the 11th step work that I'm doing, where it says that it's not God and stuff, you know, it's not God and a yacht and diamonds, it's just God. And once I have God, I've got everything else. Once I've got AA, I've got everything else. And the more I wrap myself in this program, I realize just how full my life is and how perfect my moments in it are. And so I'm thank you for sharing this moment with me, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Hi, everybody. My name's Joe. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Joe. Let's thank Jasmine for coming out tonight and giving a wonderful talk.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.